Is therapy worth it though? Like, is it even worth you sitting down talking to someone about your issues, about your trauma, about the things that you've been through? Let's talk about it. So, I've done CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. Um, it does help. However, in order for therapy to work, you have got to take the action. The tools that you're being given by your therapist, the advice that you're being given by your therapist, you need to make sure that you're listening, and you need to make sure that you're taking the action, and you need to make sure that you're taking the steps that's being advised. Therapy only works when you put the theory into practice, just like anything in life. Therapy only works if you also put in the work. It's not just about you going there talking. Like, you go there, open up. If you're going to therapy and you know that you're going to therapy for a specific thing, go there, talk about the thing. And obviously, don't open up wounds that you know you're not ready for. Share what you're ready for. Share what you're ready for. And a lot of the times, with free therapy, sometimes you might only just have 6 sessions, right? And the first session is the initial assessment, so that's already 1 session gone. You've only got 5 left. So it's really utilizing, like, if you know you've only got 5 sessions, utilize those sessions. Ask the therapist always before the session ends, do you have any tips? Do you have, anything to sort of, like, any tasks that I can do? Ask for the homework. Be a good student of life. Be a good student of yourself, of your own life, right? Because when you go to therapy with the intentions of, oh, is this even going to work? Change your mindset in terms of, instead of thinking whether or not it's going to work, think, how can I make this work? How can I make the most out of therapy? So instead of thinking, is this going to work? Start to think, how can I make the most of it? How can I make the most out of therapy? By the way, if you work for an organization and they offer therapy, take it. I repeat, if you work for a company or an organization and they offer therapy, take it, accept it, right? Just make sure that what you share is confidential and that nothing will be shared with your employer. Other than that, take therapy. So I recently took therapy, but it was telephone therapy. It was okay. It did sort of like help here and there, but I didn't find it as effective as the sitting down talking therapy. And figure out what's the best form of therapy for you, because you've got people who mainly just want something that will help you get out of bed. So where I was bedbound for some time, like I was bedbound, I was oh my gosh, I was depressed, my hair was matted, I was in bed for time. So when I had my therapy, it was, it was giving me tasks like getting my gym stuff ready and in front of the door, and my shoes in front of the door, and making life easier and making things easier. Because when you're depressed, the normal day-to-day tasks may not feel as easy as it normally would if you weren't depressed, right? So for example, I couldn't be bothered to brush my hair. I couldn't. I not that I couldn't be bothered, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I don't know what was stopping me, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. There were times where I could only do 2 things a day. So I had to really figure out what those 2 things are going to be. Okay, hygiene. Let me do something hygiene. Sometimes it was like hygiene and food, those 2 things. And I'll just stay in bed. So with therapy, when I first started therapy, it was just, let me just go. So you might be at a place where you might be like, let me just go, whatever. Like, it will give you, like, it might just give you something to do. It might just give you something to do for the day. When you take the steps, when you do what needs to be done, therapy can be very, very beneficial. And therapy, I've gone to therapy a couple of times. So yeah, I officially started going therapy, I believe 2020. That's the first time I went therapy, and then after that I went to another therapist. So I've tried various different types of therapies. Some have worked, some have not worked. But what I've realized is that the times that it didn't work, it was when I didn't take the steps. Is when I went disinterested, like not interested at all. Like it was just like, oh, okay, cool, let's just get it done, get out of the way. And that wasn't the best, the best mentality. But when you are depressed, when you are in that place, sometimes negative thoughts outweigh the positive thoughts, right? So give yourself grace, and remember, it's a journey. It's a journey. You're not you know I'm not saying that you're going to go to therapy today and you're going to have a breakthrough. That might not be the case. Sometimes it gets worse before it can get better. Sometimes going to therapy can open up wounds that you didn't even know were there. So give yourself grace, but be open. If you feel you're ready to talk, then have that conversation. If you feel like you're not ready to talk, do other things that are therapeutic to you. Take on a sport, maybe do some art, listen to some music, like do things that could prepare you for therapy. Sometimes you need to prepare for therapy mentally, emotionally, sometimes even physically. Take on a sport, start doing some exercises. Like sometimes trauma gets trapped in the body. Like sometimes when you move your body, like healing starts from there also. So sometimes you might need to prepare yourself before you actually go to therapy, so that when you get there, it's a lot easier of a process. But just know that going to therapy can sometimes open some wounds that you didn't know you had. And you might feel like, oh, therapy didn't help because it made it worse. Really, it didn't make it worse. That's just when you start to heal the things that you didn't even know you were going through. You were going through things subconsciously that you don't know. We're all going through things subconsciously that we don't even know we're going through. But it's just that, going through. So don't try to rush your process. Don't try to rush your journey. There were times where I was just like, yeah, I'm healed. And then boom, like life just gives me a left hook, and I'm like, I feel like I'm back to square one. Literally, there's been so many times where I felt like I've gone back to square one, but it wasn't that I'd gone back to square one. It's just that the wound had been reopened again, and it can be very painful. It can be very, very, very painful. So take it into consideration that when you want to start working on your healing journey, that you've got some people who it wasn't intentional, but someone said something that triggered you and you started your healing journey. It just depends. It's different for everyone. A lot of the times your healing journey might be induced by, I don't know, alcohol. When you're drunk, you start just talking. You start talking about your traumas and things like that. Or when you're high, you just so certain things like alcohol can induce it. Weed can induce it. So you just have to be very, very careful with what you're doing on the day-to-day basis, right? So, and with antidepressants, I was taking antidepressants in the very beginning stages of my sort of, when I first was diagnosed with depression. It was like, okay, medication, that was the first thing. No one spoke to me about therapy. It was just bam, medication. I did take it like for a week or so, then I was like, whoa, this ain't for me. This is not for me. So I stopped that straight away, and I just carried on my journey without medication. So I can't really sit here and say, yeah, I've taken antidepressants, because I've taken it, but I've never really seen a positive effect out of it. But that's just me. You might be taking antidepressants and think, oh, this is great. But I've also heard from other people who have said they've taken it and they've felt even worse. So remember, it's your journey, it's your body. How you want to go about things is totally up to you. But just give yourself grace and take it easy on yourself. Okay. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.